Welcome to your career course, Finding the Right Career in Life Science. Here in this course, you're gonna learn a little bit of the basics, how to choose your career path if you're interested in life science. This course is intended mostly for students which are selecting their major, so pre-college phase, to give a basic of the guidance how to choose the best major, which direction they should go for. And here, starting with the same principal question is why would you choose for a career in life science? So some of the reasons. Um, Life science, you have the chance to make a difference in people's life, especially if you work in healthcare, if you're a nurse, if you're a pharmacist, if you're a physician, you have the impact to influence in a positive way and to take care of people. You foster intellectual curiosity. If you're a researcher, you're always looking for something new. You have typically better work environments than other industries, especially if you compare it to financial industry, banking, you have possibly a more pleasant environment in the working life science. From the humanitarian perspective, you care and you're taking care of people. So there are good reasons why people usually choose for life science career. Step number one is to know yourself. For many people, it depends on the level, how advanced you are, and your self-awareness. These are some of the key questions you have to make to yourself to select your career, to select your major, or to select the direction you want to go in your professional life. A very basic one is type of subjects where you like in school, or which are your main skills. Are you good dealing with people? You're better dealing teaching others, or you prefer working in the lab. Also, a little bit on the work environment, where you prefer to work is a lab, is a clinic, is a hospital, and a little bit also on the satisfaction. How much important is money for you? Do you prefer money? Do you prefer a satisfaction to see to be helping somebody else, or both? So those are just some of the questions, and more advanced in this course, we're going to see a little bit of details of each one. Another tool, another instrument very useful are the career quizzes. And here's an example from the Princeton Review. Just gonna go on look for Princeton Review career quiz, and there's a set of questions, typically posing one expertise against each other, and you go through all of them. At the end, you put an email, you send your report, specifying which direction you should be looking at the details based on your questions. It's very useful. Another one also very useful is from Loyola University of Chicago. It's a set of 35 questions. You go through that, it's in the report, and then you can maybe try two, three different ones to see what more makes sense to you, and triangulate, compare information, and see if they are accurate or not. One of the first questions you have to know from yourself is what's your favorite subject in school. And here it's very important to pause and make some thoughts on what are you good at? So what are your best grades? As a chemistry, as a biology, as physics, as both, as all three? Make some thoughts on what do you like most, where your best grades at. Typically they correlate to each other, so the ones you most enjoy, you study more and you get the best grade. So this would be kind of the primary indicators how to choose the right direction. I give you now an example. If you really like, for example, biology and you also like chemistry, pharmacy is a great option because it's a really good mix between biology and chemistry. It's a really good combination between both of those subjects. So if you enjoy studying biology, if you enjoy studying chemistry, and if you're good at, there's a high probability you're going to be successful in pharmacy school. Another good combination, for example, is biology and math. So bioinformatics is a very trendy career now. So it's people who are combining the biological background with the computer science background. With computer science, usually people who are very strong in math, they would succeed in computer science. So bioinformatics is a good one. Another one, if you combine in chemistry and math, might go a direction engineering is still with your chemical background, you can work in research, we can work in pharmaceutical companies. So that's also a good combination. Or if you don't like chemistry, you don't like math, you don't like numbers, you only like biology, you're very close to the nature, you can select a career only in biology, like botanist or zoologist. So there are several type of combinations, but you see, there's a kind of gives you a guidance where to narrow down a little bit of your options. And the purpose of this course is at the end that we have a little bit of your selection a little bit narrow to what you'd like to pursue in the future. Another important question is what's your favorite environment? So let's have a look at, for example, indoors. Do you feel comfortable working in the lab? Do you feel comfortable being 8 hours a day in the lab, researching, analyzing data, or making meetings, whatever is activity, 8 hours in the lab per day? So research should be um, a career for you. If you think this doesn't make sense to you, it's very closed. If you prefer, for example, indoors in a school environment, so teaching would be a good environment, could be a good option. Um, just pausing a little bit here doesn't mean you have to stay forever. If you choose that environment, you're going to stay forever, right? So indoors in the lab, you might start a research, you might become a manager, and then part of the lab activity would transfer to the office. So it would be maybe 50% the office, 50% the lab, maybe some time traveling as well. So that's not fixed in stone, but you have to spend some time. If you decide for that career, if you decide for a career as a scientist, you have to have in your mind that you're going to spend 8 hours a day for some time, 1, 2, 3, 5 years at least, in a research lab. Same with teaching. Same with, for example, if you don't like indoors, you prefer outdoors environment, for example, close to nature with animals, then you might, for example, choose a career in the field research as a zoologist or botanist, for example. And if you really feel comfortable in a clinic in a hospital environment, then it's clear that healthcare is also the right option for you. So take a little time to go through this and also think where would you see yourself in the next, maybe after college, the next 5 years, where you would feel more comfortable. Another important question is what do you think you're good at? And this is coming together with the skills, coming together with the environment. So if you're good dealing with people, most likely healthcare is a good option. If you're good at teaching others, then as a teacher, either for primary, elementary school, or university teacher. If you like researching new things, then the career as a research scientist is clearly also a good direction for you. So combine now what you learned from yourself and also try to understand what you're good at. A very crucial question, and for some people is the most important, is how much money you can make with a certain major, certain career, or certain direction you choose for the future. Think about this. Scale 1 to 10, how important is money for you? And 10 is maximum. If, if your answer is 8, 9, or 10, so money matters, or money matters a lot. If your answer is between 6 and 7, it's somewhat important. If it's below 5, it doesn't matter. If somehow your answer is above 6, I think the next section now is very important. Please pay attention to this. It's very important to choose and to combine everything we've been talking in this course. First important concept before we go now to the numbers is to understand the salary range concept. What is that? Salary range concept, whenever people are choosing their careers, they want a number. So they want to know how much money biologists make in a year, how much money a physician make in a year, how much money whatever a dentist make in a year. That's what's around people's minds. But how much money can you make if you choose certain major? The answer, I think, a very clear answer to that is that there's not a specific number. Typically, there is a range, and we're going to give you an example of a salary range for research scientists in the United States. The salary, the numbers are yearly salary. For example, that's the range. If it is a population, most of the population be around the 50% area. The median area would be 75,000 a year. In the entry level, around 47, maybe 50, 47 to 60,000 is the lower range, and a little bit higher would be maybe above 100,000. You might be asking why? Because we have here a difference of almost 3 times more from the lower range to the higher range. There are three main factors which will influence the range and also where you'd fall into this range. And those are the three. So if you look at the lower range, it's typically entry level. If you look at the middle range, is typically the target, where's the market, was the average people, and the highest range is the premium, or you can call had the game or whatever is the people who were exceeded and are a little bit out of the curve. And the three main variables which will influence that would be number one, your degree, right? If you're bachelor, if you only go for a bachelor, most likely coming in entry level, it would be somewhat challenging to progress to premium level if you only have a bachelor. So if you have a master, nowadays having a master is almost standard in the industry, especially in life science. So if you don't have a master, if you have a master, you'll be in the target level. PhD or MBA would put you a little bit ahead of the game, and you'll be in the premium area. It's also combined with the years of experience, to 2 years entry level, 2 to 10 years target level, above 10 years already experience. So we're probably gonna be a senior scientist, or some would be a principal scientist. It'd be a little bit more senior level. So your remuneration would be under the top of the range. And the third element is the location, which is very important. Here, location, there are two ways to see that. If it's in-country location, for example, let's take United States as an example. If in the middle of Kentucky, the cost of living would be different for a city like New York City or San Francisco. So typically, the cost of the salary range on low-cost states, and low cost meaning low cost of living, would be a lower salary than high cost living cities. And the same if you compare countries to countries. If you compare like expensive countries like Switzerland in Europe to countries in maybe South America, you're gonna see also major difference and the salary, not only because of the difference of the payment, because of also the cost of living is different. But let's focus on, I think, the top two degree and experiences, and the combination of two will bring you either to entry, median, or premium level if we are in the same state or the same country. Now we go a little bit of details on the salary range for the specific fields or working environments. Let's start a little bit maybe with hospital and clinics, and here healthcare as the main field. The careers in hospital and clinics. This is some information for 2018 from PayScale. The range varies from different occupations, starting from physicians. And what would change between, for example, a physician who making 100,000 a year and 234,000 a year is pretty much what the specialization they're going for, what's the residence they're going for, which hospital they're going for. Same for the dentist, if it's a general dentist, or for the dentist has a specialization. Same for the pharmacist, if it's a pharmacist with a bachelor degree, or if the pharmacist went for PharmD and has more a clinical specialization. All this is valid for all. So take that concept of the salary range and apply it to that. So this is the typical the scale of salary that you see for different areas in healthcare. Help you to guide which directions you think you'll be comfortable with in terms of financial goals. Always bear in mind that the range could be from the lowest to the highest 2 times more, even sometimes 3 times more. And what's playing a role in that is how much education you have and how much experience you have. Taking examples in lab research, if your answer was, I would feel comfortable working in the lab, I would feel comfortable working as a research scientist. That's a typical scientist salary in the United States. Molecular biologists and biochemists are highly in demand, especially from pharmaceutical companies, who requires very specialized skill set in those areas. Chemists and microbiologists and food scientists, for example, also. So that's the range we'll be varying for lab and research in the United States. If you go for a teaching school, if you don't like research, you don't like clinics, you're afraid of blood, or you think a lab is boring, you prefer teaching people, here is the range. And here's very important to emphasize two main differences. One, high school and elementary um, teachers usually they're not the best paid professionals, at least in the US. Other countries like Europe, for example, in Germany or in Japan, they tend to remunerate high or at least a bit higher on those professionals because you see education, at least the ground basic education is important, strategic for their countries. The United States is not the best paying area, so if you maximum would be in a high school as a high school teacher would be around 75, maybe 80,000 a year, and that's like when you're the most senior. So that's a little bit the limitation of those. You of course see change when you go to the to a university environment. So as assistant professor, associate, or full-time professor, you go in a higher range, but also bear in mind there's a long pathway to go. You will require advanced degrees, you will require a PhD, and most likely also a postdoc. We have in a more a course in another online course within this platform, we have the specific timing and requirements to become a professor. Feel free to visit after this course to download the other course to have more information. So now, just to recap, you have to understand yourself. So you want to understand what you like. You have also to understand what you're good at, and also how much money, what's your financial goals. And if you put like in a simple graph, you have your skills. Let's say I'm good at biology, chemistry, whatever. I have good grades. I enjoy it. I have fun. It's also my interest. I like working with animals, or I like working in the lab. I like doing experiments. I like learning new things. And my financial goals. Okay, I like this all, but I'd like to have a career which makes me money. Let's say, fine, I like biology, I like the clinics. Maybe I would like to be a medical doctor because there is maybe a higher remuneration. So the area you're looking for is the intersection or what is in common between your skills, between your interests, and the financial goals.